Mets playoff picture is brought to you by Google Pixel. Learn more at googlestore.com. The stage is set. The Mets now head to Atlanta for a three-game series against the Braves with two things in their favor: momentum and a one-game NL East lead. SNY contributor Anthony McCarron joins me now. He's going to talk about what's at stake this weekend for Buck and the gang. First and foremost, Anthony, shout out to Eduardo and Escobar. Dude was on fire last night. But let's break down what's at stake, like I said. Explain what the Mets need to do to clinch the NL East.
Well, they've got the one-game lead, like you said, and they also currently hold a tiebreaker over the Braves, and they only have to win one game in this series to maintain the tiebreaker all the way through. If they sweep Atlanta, they'll clinch on Sunday, which, of course, is the dream Mets scenario, and even if they get swept, then they're down 2, and they lose the tiebreaker to Atlanta. So there is quite a bit at stake here. And look, it was always, once the Braves asserted themselves in this race and made it clear that after a poor start that they were going to challenge for the division, regardless of how great the Mets have played all year. And look, I know there's been some wobbly moments and some fans have been, kind of had a bleak outlook in recent days over the Mets' chances, but the Mets have played great all season long. But once the Braves served notice, it was always going to come down to this series being incredibly meaningful for them, for both teams, and probably will go a long way. I know it's obvious to say it now when it's facing us, but will go a long way to solving this division puzzle here. And it's a huge advantage to win the division for both teams. So it is very, very meaningful, and you can tell just by looking at the probable pitchers how much it means to each side.
Yeah, the Braves were 10.5 games back, and that's on June 1st, and all eyes are going to be on this series. So how vital is it for the Mets to take this series versus the Braves?
Well, in addition to the bragging rights and the sort of psychic boost that you would get from not blowing that 10.5 game lead for the Mets, there's a lot at stake as well, because avoiding the Dodgers as long as possible, I think, is a really great way to plot your course through the National League. And if you are the wild card team coming out of the East, then you expose yourself to the playing the Dodgers, assuming you win your first series quickly. And the Mets, if they win, they would at least see the Dodgers in the NLCS, assuming both teams make it that far, which is a good spot to be in because, look, I mean, the Dodgers can end everybody's season in baseball. And not that they can't be beaten either, but they are a powerful, powerful team. I mean, they just won their 107th game, a club record. You look up and down that lineup, it's amazing. Their pitching is incredibly deep. So avoiding the Dodgers is great. So get the division, get out of their side of the bracket. So if you do face them, it's for the trip to the World Series.
So if you can avoid the Dodgers, is this series with Atlanta a potential NLCS preview?
Absolutely. That's how good the Braves are. Look, the Dodgers are amazing, but the Braves have proven up to the task of chasing the Mets all year. I would be very worried about facing them in any playoff series, and that's not just the Mets, that's any team, including the Dodgers, because they do, the Braves are seasoned, they're the defending champs, and they're the champs until somebody beats them on the field and knocks them out of the tournament. So there's a lot going on with them, and look, Mets versus Braves coming up with the pitchers that are going. It really does give you a window into what an NLCS between the teams could look like, because the Mets are firing DeGrom, Scherzer, and Chris Bassett in the first 3 games, which is their ideal pitching setup going forward. And the Braves have freed Kyle Wright and then Charlie Morton. And Morton, his numbers may not be as flashy as some of the other guys pitching in this series, but he's got some great postseason experience behind him, and he's done it before. So, the rotations lining up, that's phenomenal. And look, if you're the Mets, it's another reason to win the division too, because you want to have the say over how you deploy your starting pitchers and not have to have it be, go get through another series to get into where you want to go in the first series there. So if you have a bye, you can line your guys up, and that's the ideal situation. And look, DeGrom and Scherzer are not the youngest starting pitchers in the world anymore, and the more rest that they get going into October is probably better.
Yeah, and the Mets are 9-7 over the Braves this season. What a time to be an amazing. Anthony, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.